Well, in this Atheist Sunday School is Women of the Bible, Lesson 7, Lois and Eunice, Grandmother and Mother of Timothy. 1. Lois and Eunice maintain a good mother-child relationship with each other. Lois means agreeable. Eunice means good victory. Each of these names are basically the same meaning. Literally, here were two ladies, one who did nothing halfway and the other completely agreeable to that. How can children know how to treat parents properly unless they learn by example from their parents' relationship with their parents? Good question. Of course, if you've ever been a teacher, you can see how a lot of these kids have their parents wrapped around their little fingers. You know, these parents actually think their children are little angels and stuff. It's kind of funny, especially once they get to like high school level. I mean, these kids, they make fun of their parents because of how much control they have on their parents. They believe their parents believe their kids over the teachers. They act like the teachers don't know anything and all that. Teach high school, you'll see what I'm talking about. 2. They maintain a Christian home, 2 Timothy 3:15. And of course you go to KingJamesBibleOnline.org if you want to see these verses. Again, 2 Timothy 3:15. And that from a child thou hast known the Holy Scriptures, which are able to make thee wise unto salvation through faith which is in Christ Jesus. The responsibility of the home's Christian standards is generally borne by the wife, for she's the one who is home most of the time. Yeah, if you're a Christian wife, you should be home all the time with your kids. Now I'm going to say this, some people might get upset, but I do believe personally that one spouse should stay home with the kids while the other spouse works. I don't see why it makes a big deal which one, the husband or the wife, who really freaking cares. You know, it's just easier, but the problem is it's easier dealing with the kids. The problem is today's society with the cost of everything, you need two working parents, you know. It's just easier that way. Mother stays home. Why does it have to be the wife? 3. They taught Timothy to be saved when he was quite young. After comparing Acts 16:1 and Acts 14:20, it seems to teach that Timothy's mother and grandmother had been professing Christians prior to the time that Paul came to the Derbe, Lystra area. However, Paul says that Timothy is his son in faith. 1 Timothy 1:12 and 1 Timothy 1:18. Unto Timothy, even my own son in the faith, grace, mercy, and peace from God our Father and Jesus Christ our Lord. This charge I commend to thee, son Timothy, according to the prophecies which went before on thee, that thou by them mightest war a good warfare. Apparently Timothy's mother and grandmother had taught him the things that he needed to know until the time that the preacher led the youngster to the Lord. You gotta like that mightiest war, a good warfare. You know, that just, you know, it's just something else. 4. They reared a manly child. Timothy means to honor God, and though he was reared in a feminine household, as he grew older he became a real man. We say a great deal about the fact that girls should not dress or act like boys. It is just as much an abomination for boys to be treated, reared, and dressed like girls, no matter what the age might be. Alright. Boys should be boys, girls should be girls. But hey, if boys like girl sports or girls like boys sports, who the frick cares? Now, the dressing, I don't know. I really don't. I just think it's funny how it's acceptable for women to dress kind of like in what is generally considered men's clothing. You know, the jeans and all that. Not that it matters. But if a man goes out in a dress, people have a fit. Of course, you know, look at how straight stuff. Of course, then again, if you ever seen a man in a dress, you can kind of understand why. You know, it's not as acceptable. I was in a grocery store before. I'll never forget seeing guys coming in dressed in a freaking dress. It does not look good. I mean, I don't care if guys do it. It's their business. 5. They had a Christian household without mention of masculinity. For all the ladies in this world, and particularly in our church, who are having to rear their children as Christians without the aid of a male parent, surely there is a blessing in these passages. After the initial mentioning that Timothy's father was a heathen, he's never mentioned again, leading us to believe that the remaining portion of Timothy's life was spent without his father. Whether he was killed or whether he abandoned it in the family, we do not know. In spite of this fact, Timothy was reared as a fine, strong Christian. 6. They had seen the child suffer persecution. 2 Timothy 3:10-11. But thou hast fully known my doctrine, manner of life, purpose, faith, long-suffering, charity, patience, persecutions, afflictions, which came unto me at Antioch, at Iconium, and Lystra. What persecutions I endured, but out of them all the Lord delivered me. In these verses there are some items mentioned that coincide with the events that took place in Acts 14. There are no other such events in the larger part of Paul's life that are quite as close, leading us to believe that Paul is reminding Timothy that he had suffered the same thing that Paul suffered. This must have occurred when Timothy was a child. Many times parents are willing to suffer persecution, but then when the time comes that their children have to suffer the same, the parents are not willing for the children to undergo that. May we recognize that as surely as opposition always strengthens us, so it will strengthen our children. A preacher took all of his new teenagers to the worst part of town to pass out tracts. Someone asked him why he subjected his teenagers to such ridicule as they would receive. He said when they came back, they were much better Christians than when I took them. First off, worst part of town. What is that supposed to mean? The poor part of the town? The black part of town, as some people try to say? How about the redneck part of town? The white part of town? Poor white, poor black, whatever the heck? Are they really going to treat people bringing gospel tracts any better than rich people? I imagine rich people are more likely to shut the door in your face. And then the second one about the children. Let's face it though, if you watch any of my videos about my presidential thingy, I'm not being serious about running for president, so calm down. I mean, if I get elected, obviously I'll take the job seriously. But if you watch them, you'll notice how talk about increasing science education and music and physical, PE. But critical thinking, learning how to debate and argue, astronomy, geology, physics, biology, and chemistry are the basic ones that I believe people should know, and a few others like personal finance, first aid, CPR, economics. Certain things and how to parent, how to, they need to take behavioral classes too, especially like in elementary school. Let's face facts now, okay? Let's face the freaking facts. If I were to do this, if I were to become president, and I was managed to change the education system that did this, and of course their entire education system in the entire United States would be streamlined. Each state will not be able to do their own thing anymore. Sorry, it's ridiculous. Of course, African American history would be included in U.S. history. World history will have to include all the things that every other ethnicity did, not just what white folks did. So maybe people won't be so anti-white. But anyways, let's say I did this. Okay, we did this. I can promise you one thing about parents is they're not going to be too happy about their kids being smart, knowing more than they do. Especially if they're, an argument about something and the kid knows how to argue and use logic because, they take in critical thinking and logic, they're going to start complaining and, no, we don't need that. They're going to make it sound like that type of education is horrible. You're going to get these people on radios, news, and the media, especially the, certain people in the media. You got the liberal and the conservative. I'll let you guess which one. Well, probably not be too happy with it. Not that the other side is any better. They're both, let's face it, the media today is basically just a propaganda machine for whatever ideology that controls them. That's all they are. That's all they are now. They no longer actually report true news anymore. You don't even know what they're saying about whatever politicians or anybody is even true. Because if they find you said one thing wrong, I don't care if it's 30 years ago, they will exploit that and go crazy and try to cause you your job or whatever. Who cares? They don't even let you can't even apologize. Ridiculous. Okay, now 7. They reared a son who had been prophesied as having brilliant prospects. 1 Timothy 1:18. If our children seem to be talented and to have much ability, we should concentrate on them, for the devil will do all he can to keep them from fulfilling that which the Lord would have them do. But then why doesn't the Lord help them accomplish it then? 8. They reared a son who could be used early. 1 Timothy 4:12. Let no man despise thy youth, but be thou an example of the believers in word, in conversation, in charity, in spirit, in faith, and purity. This verse seems to teach us that Timothy was younger than those who were surrounding him. May we ever recognize that you do not have to be ancient or to be useful to the Lord. Martin Luther was 27 years old when he led the revolt against I can't pronounce some things like this. Catholicism. John Calvin was 26 when he wrote his most famous work. Also, this might be interesting. Jonathan Edwards, known as the greatest mind that's ever preached in the American pulpit, was converted at the age of 6. Isaac Watts, one of the greatest writers of hymns, was converted at the age of 5. I hate to say this, but Martin Luther did not lead a revolt against the Catholic Church. His little 96 edict they put on that, I don't know what way, I think it's the Sistine Chapel, I'm probably wrong on that. It was certain grievances, like, they only accept indulgences and things like that, purgatory. And basically, a lot of the things that they were saying was not in the Bible, and he just wanted to reform the Catholic Church. Of course, that did not happen because the Catholic Church did not want to be reformed. So he started he didn't exactly want to, but the Protestant Reformation happened. Not that the Protestants are any better. 9. They maintain a Christian household in the center of wickedness. You will notice that the first time Paul preached in the city of Lystra in Acts 14:6 and following it was the year 46 AD. You will note that when he returned to Lystra in Acts 16:1, it was the year 52 AD. This means that for 6 years, Lois and Eunice and Timothy had maintained the Christian testimony in the place that had tried to kill Paul. Conclusion. In Lois and Eunice, we have examples of the kind of women our girls ought to become. We also have a great example of a fine son who was reared by these 2 women. Let us teach our children to listen well to their godly parents. Whether parents are godly or not, children need to learn to listen to their parents. Okay? And parents should be allowed to discipline their children. Sometimes you do have to spank. Sometimes you don't. There are a lot of other ways they can discipline. Memory verse. And let's not do the memory verse, okay, this time. Because it's already been said in all the other lessons in the same thing. Well, that's it. Bye.